Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's explainer, where we're unpacking a really concise, but honestly highly practical piece of text titled Mindset Mastery, Internal Focus and Positive Transformation. If you've ever felt like you're just spinning your wheels, working hard but not actually getting anywhere, well, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to break down the exact philosophy our source provides for literally reclaiming your mental energy. Now, it might sound simple on the surface, but as we go through this structured breakdown, you're going to see just how incredibly effective this framework really is.
So, here's a question for you. How much time and energy do you waste comparing yourself to others? It's a pretty heavy question, isn't it? The source text identifies this exact behavior as a massive pain point. I mean, think about the sheer mental bandwidth we use up just looking sideways, checking in on what everyone else is doing, what they're achieving, or what they're experiencing. It's a completely exhausting habit, and it fundamentally takes away from our own progress. This explainer is all about solving that exact problem, using some very direct guidance from our source material.
Section 1. The Mindset Mastery Shift, moving from the external to the internal. Think of this shift as a journey. We usually start out in a place where we feel totally disempowered by external factors, getting caught up in everybody else's highlight reels. But to truly grasp how to change this, we have to understand that it doesn't just happen by accident. Mindset mastery requires an intentional pivot away from the outside world and toward internal control. That key word there is intentional. You literally have to consciously decide to stop letting your focus drift outward. It's all about building a solid foundation where the chaos of the outside world just doesn't dictate your internal state of mind anymore.
Section 2. The Trap of Comparison. The Danger of Looking Outward.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how directly the text targets this toxic behavior. It specifically states that we should be doing our own work rather than comparing yourself to others. Notice that it doesn't say try to compare yourself less. No, it presents comparison as the exact opposite of what you should be doing. The text sets this up as a strict either-or scenario. You are either making progress or you are comparing yourself to others. You simply can't do both at the same time. Comparison is presented as a complete dead-end street.
Section 3. Focusing on Yourself. The Power of the Pivot.
And this brilliantly illustrates the central duality of the entire text. On one side, we've got comparing yourself to others. As we've established from the source, doing that is entirely useless. It changes absolutely nothing about your actual reality. But on the other side, we have focusing on yourself. And this is where the real utility lies. When you focus on yourself, you're finally dealing with the one and only variable you actually have direct control over. The text basically urges us to completely abandon that useless column and pour absolutely everything into the useful one.
Section 4. Changing the situation, moving from passive to active.
You see, focusing on yourself isn't just about sitting around quietly reflecting. It's actually a vital prerequisite for taking real action in the real world. Listen closely to this specific phrase from our source. What you can do to change the situation. This is incredibly empowering. It implies that true mindset mastery absolutely demands action. It challenges us to identify the specific variables in our lives that we have the power to alter. Because once you stop wasting all that time comparing yourself to others, the immediate next question is, okay, what can I actually do? It moves you instantly from being just a passive observer to an active participant in your own life.
Section 5. Practicing Positive Thinking. Cultivating the Right Environment. Making these kinds of changes and breaking those old, stubborn habits takes a lot of mental fuel, right? Well, our source text provides the exact climate needed to grow these new habits. So, the crucial point is, practice positive thinking. It's a really simple, direct instruction, but seriously, don't let its simplicity fool you. Notice that word practice. That implies positive thinking isn't just a magical switch you flip on. It's a muscle you have to consistently work out. Without this positive mental environment, looking inward could so easily turn into harsh self-criticism. Positive thinking is what ensures you do this work with grace and optimism.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a really cohesive strategy. Step 1. Clear the deck and stop comparing yourself to others, completely cutting off that energy drain. Step 2. Redirect and focus on what you can actually change by taking an active inventory of your own capabilities. And finally, Step 3. Sustain the effort by practicing positive thinking, using that optimism as the fuel to keep this engine running day after day. Guys, this right here is the core formula for positive transformation.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. If you stop comparing yourself today, what situation will you have the power to change tomorrow?
Just think about the sheer amount of time and mental clarity you'd get back. Starting right now, I highly challenge you to take this framework from the source text and apply it immediately. Reclaim your focus, practice that positivity, and go change your situation. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into mindset mastery. Now get out there and master yours.